I call the Grant County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the United States and to the republic which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Additions to the agenda or changes?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about the meeting center.
All right. And then I want to add, we were asked for a first reading of the proposed bed bug ordinance. I've kind of reviewed that. I've got some questions, so we'll have that reading, ask for discussions, and then take a vote to either table it, move it back to the board without moving on. Ron, you want to start off then with your?
Well,
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, got the next issue, approval of minutes and claims.
you guys seen them?
Have.
You good?
Good.
Go ahead and make a motion through the minutes and claims.
I'll second that. Okay, roll call.
Okay, Ron Sanders, how do you vote?
Yes.
Tim Clark,
Yes.
Kevin Patrick,
Yes. Right, Ron, you want to add?
Yeah, the music center, you want to do that right now?
Yeah, we just move it on.
Okay. When I run for this office, I come up talking about selling music center. It's not really went very far. You know, if we just pledge allegiance to this flag, you know, this is a republic. Okay. Democracy is ruled by the majority. If the majority says they can take your property, they can take your property. In a republic, that's your property. And you know, people just need to figure out where they're at on that. And I'm perfectly fine with people believing that it's a democracy if that's what they believe. You can believe whatever you want in this country. You can be whatever you want in this country. But to stand up here and pledge this flag, you're pledging to a republic. So, the music center, this has been talked about a lot. I make a motion that we move toward looking into selling the music center. It takes at least 2 commissioners, and it takes 4 county council. So I'll make a motion to sell the music center.
Okay, I guess the count on that one, Ron, is that's an option. I think the other one we're looking at the management arrangements now. As you're aware, we're looking at the different options. Selling is one option. Different management arrangement is another option. Managing it differently or improving the current management than what we have. So I'm not, the motion to sell it, I'm not there, but that was one of the options I think it should be considered.
Well, we need to look at it and see if we can come up with a value on it, because taxpayers are on the hook. And there's other issues getting ready to come up here that could really hurt the innkeeper's tax. And the innkeeper's tax gets hurt if tourism goes down in this county. It falls back on the taxpayers. And if we get an evaluation that says that music centers, nobody wants to buy it, or if it's worth 50% of what was spent on it, I mean, there's some people got to answer some questions for that. Do I hear a second out of Mr. Patrick over there? Nope. So that motion dies.
Okay, the counter to that, Ron, it's like I said, we'll do and I pledge that in my campaign as well. We have community input on the options and a way forward to get that community buy-in. We're also currently looking at different management arrangements and structures, how that thing, the governance documents for that music center. So that's kind of an ongoing thing, and we'll bring that up in the future meetings.
Is anybody in the audience care to chime in on that?
Yeah.
Dina Patrick. Dina Patrick. I live here in town. I was involved with the Music Center from the beginning. I thought it was a really good idea. Having been a bookkeeper and a tax preparer in this county for a long time and seeing financial statements of people and how well they did prior to the Little Opry burning and how well they did prior to the music center coming and being built. I actually served on the board of the music center for a year, and I do not support selling the music center. I don't believe that you can get enough money out of it for the debt that is still there, which is around $10.7 million. I have been attending the board meetings for the Maple Lake Management Group all year, except for January. I wasn't there, and I missed last month, and I'm gonna miss this month. But I do have a lot of knowledge about the music center, and I'd be more than happy to set up an arrangement to meet with any of you who would like to talk to me and what I know about the history of the music center. I continue to volunteer there. I have volunteered there probably 200 times. I've sold merchandise for 70 different artists that have come through there. So I do have some knowledge that I could share and would love to share it with you. And just thank you for your allowing me to have input on
Good. Dean, I'll reach out. Well, let's meet next week.
that. Okay?
We prepared notes, as you're aware. I've been following this from the beginning and
Yes, I do
probably
know that.
got tons of
I know.
supporting
I know, and
documents.
information I have is kind of a different side of it since I was
Good.
on the board. So
Good.
thank
Appreciate
you.
it. Look forward to talking to you. Anybody else?
Sherry Mitchell. Interesting point you brought up. Seriously, interesting. I would like to know what the music centers work. Do we know that? Do we have any way to know that? You talked about some things that you were working on about the music center. I'm assuming that involves the county council and that new quality of life program or whatever they're doing with that. But is there something wrong with having some kind of group get together to see if the music center would be an asset that we could sell, that we could make money off of? Is that just not possible?
That's part of the scope of what we're looking at, Sherry.
What do you mean? This is, who's we? I'm sorry.
Well, commissioners, we discussed the topic, and that's an option. Different management arrangement, an option. Changing the management agreement that's there is an option. So we're looking at those and talking to a kind of a business consultant all the time.
Could that be more public?
Pardon me?
Could that stuff be more public?
As we get more information, yeah, certainly.
So you're looking at a new admin agreement? Is that what you're telling me?
We're looking at all the options. That's one of them.
It would be nice if that was a little more transparent. I would be interested in that because, I mean, I walked through that path with you
Sure.
from the very beginning. So I would be interested in knowing all of that stuff.
And we're just in the beginning stages of discussion and discovery kind of thing. And so as soon as I get a little more detail, sure, we'll bring it up at a meeting.
Well, and couldn't it be a group of folks like we did our septic ordinance when we were looking at that? Could it be something like that transparent or no?
No, it's gonna be open. It's gonna be an open discussion and we'll get input from all sides.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Christina Sites. I forgot to say this last time I was here, but the opinions here are mine only, and anyone associated with me should not be retaliated against for anything that I say here. I'm speaking today, yeah, check for the 3 minutes there, Tim. I keep seeing like a pattern here, guys. Clark Patrick, relatively new, we're 9 months into this now. And if I'm not here, I promise you that I am on the YouTube channel. I'm subscribed to that, so I know what happened at the last meeting. But with that said, as someone who lives and works in this county and pays taxes in this county, and owns property in this county, I keep hearing one commissioner talk about taxes and taxpayers and how things are gonna affect them. I'm also aware and have been at meetings where we keep saying we're gonna look over things. We're looking into it. It doesn't matter. Like, I feel like Ron could tell us the building's on fire and you two would vote no. You know, or maybe you'd vote yes and he'd vote no. Whatever he's gonna say, you're gonna say the opposite. But with that said, what I hear is Ron Sanders is worried about the taxpayers. I want you guys to know, I know Gateway, I know how to get on it. I know what everybody in this room, if you work for this county, makes, okay? I know what it costs to go get a gallon of milk at IGA. I know that I posted something on my community page the other day and somebody was like, oh, what do we have to lose? What we have to lose is our ability to afford to pay our property taxes, okay? So I hear Sanders talking about things down the road, guys, because guess what? He's not been here 9 months, okay? He's seen these cycles of governments, people coming in and out. And I think it's great that the two new guys, you know, want to talk the talk, but honestly, Tim, I am extremely upset that I wasted a vote on you because you keep talking about these pledges, and we talked about it before this meeting started, some of these community members in here, but you pledged one thing and you're doing the opposite. So I would plead that all three commissioners take the time to listen to the people that voted you in here. When you say we, it's not you three. It's everybody in this county that voted for you. That's what you need to take into consideration. So each time something is proposed that is going to help the taxpayers or hurt the taxpayers, spending money, spending money, spending money. I don't know how some departments survive for 9 years without these great expenditures. And then when one person proposes that we look into something that could provide some relief to taxpayers, it seems to be smacked down. So I just wanted to put that out there that we need to consider that when we say we are talking about the taxpayers and not the three commissioners, but the people that voted you guys in. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
All right, on the bed bug ordinance, proposals is this is a first reading, so let me, and this ordinance title is an ordinance to create the policy intended to limit bed bug exposure. And I think we got this, to find this version today. Let me open that for discussion to the commissioners. Comments, immediate comments on this one?
And I thought it probably needs to be sent back to them. There was concerns, I believe, from the attorney. They had some concerns at the health department. They wanted to change a couple things. I don't even know if we're ready to discuss it until the changes were made. I don't know how you would read it when there's some changes and the commissioners can make some changes. Why don't we get a clean copy? A copy that the health board is happy with. We made our changes and shoot for like the third Wednesday of October before we can do it on is it the second? It's the 1st of October of the month when we have our meeting. So why don't we wait till we get a clean copy and do the first reading on the 1st of October, and then the 6 o'clock meeting, decide whether we want to vote that in or not.
So the ordinance that was passed back and forth here came from a breakout of what was approved. So the Board of Health at the Department of Health approved this ordinance last night. With, I don't know if it was a unanimous or a majority, but it was approved and passed and sent along to us. The changes that were identified from Mike Boga in the email that he sent us was simply taking the fine structure language in it and moving it to its own section. So nothing as far as the content of that has changed. I agree. I have concerns with some of the items in the particular ordinance. One of the particular areas is it says that there's a 5-day evaluation period after actions taken or identified where there's a problem, but it does not stipulate what occurs after that 5 days ends, where the health department doesn't go in and do its due diligence, right? The other part of it, if you look at it, is the fines, while initially was discussed, not what I saw. They're looking at a $50 fine for every room that has to be inspected, or payment for every inspection for every room that may have bed bugs. That's to be paid by the property owner. And then if they go through this stated time period where they're looking at, we found this issue in this number of rooms or this facility, they don't get specific as to how long they have to remediate that issue. And then if they fail and don't pass the inspection, they have through $100 a day fine for each room. So if you do have a business in the area that's got significant problems and they have significant rooms, it could be a significant fine by the time it's all said and done. So I think I would like to have it read. It's in the public eye. We can go through the exercise according to Mr. Moga of making recommendations of what we would like to see changed. Have those changes go back to the health board and ask them to review and take into consideration. And again, if they don't make them and we choose to enhance that or change it in our process of the ordinance, then so be it. So I would recommend, with my concerns, tabling this for now.
Okay. I think some of the concerns, Kevin, you pointed out, I had the same issue. One you did mention was the establishment to remove all bed bugs within the timeline given by the health department. I don't like the vagueness of the timeline.
Right.
You know, is that a day, 24 hours, 2 weeks, what? So that's vague, and I'd add that in addition to yours. I'm concerned 5 business days, what happens if they don't do anything within the 5 days? And I think you mentioned again, the $50. It's not, yeah, the timeline.
$50 inspection fee.
100-day per room until proof of remediation is submitted within the timeline given, and that no guidance on the timeline. So I'm concerned that, all these particular issues need to be addressed before I even consider.
I don't even know that we need to table it. I think we just, get it right before you, because technically if you table it, you could come back and vote at the next meeting, right?
Could, doesn't mean it would.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to table the ordinance as it's presented here. That way we can put it on our website and give the public more opportunity to look at the ordinance.
Okay.
And collect feedback. I mean, I know that beginning of our term started here, we made an agreement that we weren't going to go through and take ordinances that are as impactful as that in a 2 o'clock meeting. And I'm willing to stand by that commitment.
Any comments? I'll second the motion on the table. It's really sending it back to the health board to review the issues that we kind of brought up and declared. And I assume they make the suggested changes or clarify a lot of these points, and then we can schedule a first reading for the October 1 meeting. So I'll second the motion by Kevin to table it and send it back to the health board.
Tim Clark, how do you vote?
Yes.
Kevin Patrick,
Yes.
Ron Sanders.
No.
It is on the website also as a draft, so it is on your page.
Okay. The next item, owner occupied rehab grant. Man, we jumped through some hoops to get that in on time, and we weren't selected for that grant. So we're applying for the 4th quarter, which opens October 14th to November 14th. So appreciate all the efforts, all the hoops everybody jumped through to hit those deadlines. We had, I don't know, over 30 applicants, didn't we? Within 30 to 40, somewhere in that range. So a lot of interest, and we're going to keep at it. This is a recurring kind of grant, and we've got to make the changes we need to make and then resubmit. So that's kind of where we're at on that. Update on Indian Hill. Let me give you a little rundown on that one. Indian Hill railroad crossing and a road. Give you a little background for those that aren't aware of this issue at all. Back in April 2020, it was first mentioned that the railroad wanted to close that railroad crossing in Indian Hill Road. And it's one of those crossings, a classic rural crossing that kind of goes, it's kind of steep, and then you trust that the road goes straight because you can't see on the other end because of your angle. And so that's always worked. It's over 100 years old. There's been no accidents. The federal government had it as low risk. And again, the commissioners mentioned that at April 20, that the railroad petitioned us, and that petition was a year prior. And then in May 2020, they voted to close. There was no public hearing, which caused quite an outcry within the county. The closing cut off access to Tecumseh Trail as well as to residents. The Tecumseh Trail, they weren't aware, the commissioners at the time weren't aware that there was a trail that went through that, so you cut it off. The Tecumseh Trail connects to Knobstone Trail, so you got the trail people interested in this as well as other state officials. And then one of the most insidious things was funny is you cut off access to a farmer, a 7th generation farmer that used that crossing the short distance to get to a field to mow hay. And they had to do like a 7-mile detour that tore up their vehicles because of the steepness of the terrain. They were on county roads. It became a real hassle. That was the original family that deeded the property to the railroad, put the crossing in. And so now we close it and they didn't have the chance, they can't use it. So, I mean, it's a little kind of crazy. So that was like 2020, and then the backlashes started. The issue was they were considering that was probably going to go to the court perhaps to discuss whether or not a public hearing was required. Since that happened, the legislature changed the language for the public hearing to make it, call it the Brown County exception. They made it very clear in the ordinance, if you're going to close an asset like that, you're going to have a public meeting. So they changed the law to make it very clear that it's not nebulous. If you're going to close something like that, a public hearing is required. So that was a good thing that came out of that. In September 2023, the pressure got to the point where the county petitioned NDOT to reopen the crossing, which NDOT approved. We got a 1-year extension in 2024, and we just applied for another extension in 2025. NDOT, when they accepted the petition, they required us to bring the crossing up to current standards. That's about a $2 million bill. So we applied for a grant, $1.9 million, with the help of Kevin Allen and Aegis. We applied for that grant to the U.S. Department of Transportation, Railroad Administration. They turned us down. That was in Jan. We learned about that around February timeframe, March timeframe. Then the commissioners in May, we wrote a letter addressed to the commissioner of NDOT and a copy to the governor's office and requesting that they reconsider those requirements and let us reopen it. Put any kind of bells and whistles you needed on the crossing, but let us put it back the way it was. We'll make any minor modifications you can and reopen that to pedestrians as well as vehicles. We met with NDOT, had Barnes and Thornburg, Jake German from Barnes and Thornburg, Mike Moga and I. We met with the department heads at NDOT to make our case. They just got back to us and said, we're not changing the requirements to reopen the crossing to vehicles. You've got to meet the current standards. And then they said, but the pedestrian crossing is going to be up to the county. And so now Barnes and Thornburg is looking at our requirements if we, on the county's control over that crossing, if we can allow pedestrian crossings. So that's kind of where we're at. Then we just put in for another grant, $400,000 for a planning grant to do the engineering studies and identify options that NDOT might consider to bring that crossing up to the standards that they'll approve. We should know about that. That's $400,000. That gives us an application and engineering standards and kind of a contract, something we can bid, but it gives us the information we need to determine to bid it out once the funding is identified. We won't hear about that until December. So we're making some progress there. So next steps, again, a ruling of the position for Barnes and Thornburg on our ability to reopen it to pedestrians. And then again, the application will move out in December. And then ongoing, we identify funding opportunities. But folks, what's nice over time, the number of stakeholders involved in this, it tells you, it's so funny when you make a decision without understanding the impact you have on a lot of folks. And so when you looked at the letters of support we had for the petition, and even now, I'm still in touch with our representatives on finding funding sources and including the governor's office. It's like whatever supporters we had, State Senator Cook, Representative Dave Hall, Representative Matt Pierce from Bloomington, who works on the trails issues, the sheriff, Brown County Farm Bureau, Brown County Chamber of Commerce when it existed, the Weddell Farm. Those were the original farmers that lost access to their field. Brown County Convention Visitor Bureau, Sycamore Land Trust, Hoosier Mountain Bikers Association, Indiana Forest Alliance, Southern Indiana Sentinel Landscapes, Bloomington Realty, Jennifer Rupp is a landowner, Judy Swift, a landowner, Andrea and Matt Hanna, landowners, Nita Andrew is a hiker, and then different photos of various hikers were also presented in support. So it's ongoing. We'll keep at it until we get make some progress for pedestrians as well as vehicles.
All right, so I've been for what,
Yeah, sure.
I think I just seen something here. April, then, it happened in April 2020,
Correct.
okay? Well, I don't know exactly the date, but sometime in there, I think it was March. They would have shut Indiana down for a couple of weeks during COVID. So did they, would that have been a reason why they didn't have a meeting?
No.
It couldn't, wouldn't
Yeah,
have.
what state? No.
Okay, because I know businesses wouldn't even let you inside at that time. Now, I'm not advocating that they did the right thing, but I can just see that timeline right there could have been some issues with having public meetings.
No, that wasn't the issue. It was the interpretation of the statute regarding public hearings.
Yeah.
Just how it could be interpreted. It's almost you needed a judge you could read pro and con.
Because I remember that time right there in March, that if you were on the road, you had to have a letter authorizing PUP on there.
Yeah.
You had to be, what do you call it? Essential workers.
Crazy times.
Yeah.
Okay, that's Indian Hill. Update on NDOT. Okay. What I did here is identified the NDOT gave us some additional suggestions and to be held. And again, I've asked for a little more detail on these. The original, I think we all discussed, was it the last meeting? It seems like every meeting we discuss these things, but we had the original they mentioned that wasn't well received by the county. They had identified two options, two alternates, asphalt at 18-foot width, 2 foot each side that's aggregate. And then the total width is 22 feet and the miles per hour is 25. On the miles per hour, it's pointed out that that's a design speed, doesn't mean we have to post it at. So again, that's what the engineers do for design. Again, nothing that we could post less. So that's the asphalt deal at 18 foot. Then they propose gravel at 22 feet. And there's no shoulders. Width and total width 22, mile per hour 25. Jason, I think you mentioned how about gravel at 18 feet and then ditch where you need it. So that's another option. I they followed up. I was curious on NDOT and I wanted to know what the minimum requirements were that they would fund and approve. And so I got sent their regulation 51-6.0 on recreational road design criteria. They mentioned that on alternative 1, it satisfied all their particular standards, but alternatives 2 and 3 that I just discussed will require a level 1 design exception. Okay, not sure the detail on that one. And then they said if you pick alternatives 2 or 3 or less, design for 2 or 3, we were going to submit a request for a level 1 exception. That's fine. I don't know. What I want to do, and I'm sure there's probably some interest out there, is pretty much do a drive-through on that road. And I talked to Kevin Allen, he just said, Kevin, I think you mentioned you might have some time next Friday to do that. And I'll send out the invite to other people, especially the folks that have the property on the road, and just do kind of I'm just curious on a drive-through on exactly, how would 18 feet look or 22 feet would look. And then I'm curious as to how much land you really need to do if we had, a lower requirement than what NDOT identified on their first option. So stay tuned. Jason, I know I got a lot of you guys on email. I'll send that out and let you know, and we kind of walk through and get everybody's input. I'll reach out to Nick Bopta too and see if it's convenient for him, so we can start actually walking on the ground and seeing what everybody can kind of live with, what we can do and not do. Because ultimately our interest is on the gravel as we do these things, and the flooding, that kind of thing becomes a maintenance issue for the county. So it's no longer going to be unimproved, it's going to be a county maintained road. So our interest really is, what does that look like as far as maintenance goes for the county? And we put those things in there to minimize, the destruction we would have from flooding and the seasonal kind of changes. So does that make sense? So I'll send that out to you, shoot for at least Friday, walk through that, and then again, I'll reach out to NDOT, see if they're wanting to participate in that, and then we'll discuss that at the next meeting on what we learned. Sound like a plan? Yeah, questions, guys?
Did you ever get anything back from NDOT on making a unanimous decision from the commissioners on whether they use eminent domain in this situation?
I haven't even sent it to them.
Pardon?
I have not sent it to them.
Do you plan on it?
And we can have that discussion here, if you like.
Well, I thought I'd ask for it, but if you want to have that discussion now, I'll tell you, if it's granted, unanimous, I'm not liking it at all. I'll tell you that front. I think you need to leave these people alone.
Yeah. So your option on the table is nothing, do nothing?
Not exactly. I think the county, let's just go back a little bit farther. I remember getting hee-hawed at for saying, we don't treat the people that live on gravel roads like second-class citizens, okay? The people that have lived on Pumpkin Ridge have not even been treated like citizens.
How?
They've not got gravel, they've not got the road maintained, and now you're talking about you want to go in there and take their property. Are you serious?
There's been no specifics on what property and how much of that property is going to be needed.
The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag states we are a republic. And in a republic, you cannot take somebody's property without them agreeing to it.
Section 5, Amendment 5, the Constitution states that as long as it is being used for public purposes, you have to establish an amicable decision, but it can be taken, given the jurisdiction. That is part of the Constitution.
Quarter-mile highway.
So, again, part of that is if you take an oath to the Republic, you take an oath to the Constitution, and the Constitution allows eminent domain.
So I'll give you a practical example within the county. We're responsible for bridges. A lot of our bridges are 30 years, 50 years, 40 years old that have to be replaced. And then we're replacing, they bring them up to more current standards. The space you need to put the new bridge in, it just happened on Country Club Road. They had to design that bridge in a way that required more land from the surrounding properties. I don't think it's a whole lot, probably less than an acre for just a small piece of
More than a half.
Yeah, not even that for another. And so at that point, you negotiate for the land, requiring that land. And you're given fair market value, and then also you're given they assess I never remember that term, Kevin.
Cost.
Cost secure, which means what other damage did we make that needs to bring it up to the way it was. And so the background for that is we either close that road. If we wouldn't have got that grant approved, if we wouldn't have got the project approved, that could have been closed almost immediately because it was keep it open, tentative to getting the project approved. And so now you've got a very small piece of land to keep that bridge open. And so, and both landowners cooperated. They understood the importance of the bridge. They've been trying to get that thing upgraded for 10, 15 years. But worst case, if you had one of those property owners said, heck no, you can't take, my piece of the land to put this new bridge in, go ahead and shut the thing down. Our option at that point would have been eminent domain to take that particular land and open up the bridge. That would have taken, we estimate, about 7 months. We had to pull that trigger. And so that's the decision. Do we pull the trigger to open up for the greater good, or do we fight it or allow that bridge to stay permanently closed? So that's where the eminent domain comes in. What's the best for the public good? What's best for the county? So that's where that comes in.
We didn't use eminent domain.
We didn't have to. We did not have to, because you had the cooperation landowners. Same thing here. We retained eminent domain. And so we're not, I can't imagine, I have no intention of taking anybody's land when it comes to this particular road. You guys are all going to be involved. We'll do the walk through this week. We'll do additional meetings that we need to to do. And so you have a clear understanding of what's acceptable, and then how much, if any, of the land is going to be needed and what your impact will be. So there's not going to be any surprises. You're going to be involved in part of the process. And we get to that point. And I hope we can come up with a decision that everybody can live with. That, you know, that the land acquisition is not going to be an issue for anyone. That's the goal. And then, you know, worst case is, you know, NDOT, we can't get an agreement, and we walk away from NDOT's offer. And then it falls back on the county, then what? But we're not there yet. We're taking a step at a time, look at all the options, get the input that we need to do, and then make the right decisions that everyone can agree to live with. That's the plan. And again, it'll be on our agenda until we get through this thing. I'm not rushing it. There's no timeline. There's no anything. We just want to do the right thing. Does that make sense?
We have an opportunity to make a couple comments.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
My name's Bob Clee, Klee, go by Robert or Bob. And my relationship with Brown County and Nashville goes back over 60 years. I grew up in Indianapolis, 6 kids in the family. Dad loved to camp and fish, and we used to go frequently to a place called Speedway Conservation Club, right over on Greasy Creek Road. Caught crappie there, went fishing and hunting and camping and so on. Just always really enjoyed it. And even as a little kid, I thought, wouldn't it be neat that later in life that we could buy some property in Brown County? And so with a very supportive wife and having a pretty successful career in business, my wife and I went and purchased this property, which is right on north of Pumpkin Ridge Road. In fact, it's just right at the intersection of Hoover Road and Pumpkin Ridge Road. We own 2 parcels, 47 total acres. And so we are a concerned stakeholder in the Pumpkin Ridge Road is just the southern boundary of our property. If you look at the maps and the plats, John Miller,
Miller, you pronounce it.
Miller, okay, thank you. Couldn't attend here today. He's over on vacation overseas, and he actually prepared the comments that he's asked me to read, and I want to make a few more comments, and you can tell me when to read that. So, you know, we bought the property in 2001. So we've owned the property for 24 years. Just love it. I thought we were going to retire down here, but my wife says there's no way we're going to retire down here. Too remote is what she said. And I said, exactly. And then about 6 years ago, we ended up, I learned from Dan Shaver, who was the forester over the Nature Conservancy, that they're going to sell 146 acres of their property on Hoover Ridge Road, and that wrapped around our property. So my wife and I bought that property as well. I received the postcard like everyone else did, right? And learned about the project and had no idea about it. I did meet with Nick as soon as I got the card. I contacted him, showed him around the property. He talked a little bit about the project and so on. And I think in the last meeting, a lot of people have said we've been in the dark. I mean, there's been surveys, a lot of stuff going on, and we don't know anything about it. And they said, well, we didn't have the meeting in spring, but now we're going to, keep people better informed. I was not able to attend the last meeting, but I watched every minute of the 2-hour session and learned a lot about it. And so right after that meeting, I said, I really want to understand more. I mean, this could impact my property. I heard comments about, well, maybe there's that serious curve going downhill Hoover Road. Maybe with this project, we kind of make that curve less dangerous. Well, guess what? If you're going to make that less dangerous, you're probably going to cut into my property. And is that going to be 20 feet? Is it going to be a big part just to make Hoover Drive or Hoover Road less dangerous? So there's a lot of information here. There are a lot of maps here. And I immediately, not knowing who plays what role, I reached out to Nick because I had met him before. And I said, Nick, there's a lot of information there and I could see so much on YouTube. Can you send me information that was being reviewed at the meeting? There were maps. I know, Tim, someone had asked at that meeting, is it possible to make that contract available? And you said, sure, I'll put it on the website, no big deal. So I reached out to Nick, asked him for more information just to educate me as a stakeholder. And he says, the project is still very preliminary, no decisions have been made. There's not a lot of information I can provide you. And I thought, that is BS. And so I contacted my neighbor, Jason. He contacted you, Tim, and immediately he said, yeah, Jason came by the office and we made him a couple copies of maps and so on. And he'll pass them to you. Also on the contract, I contacted you, Tim, and you sent me a link, your website, you got a copy of the contract. I said, that's great. That's all I'm looking for. I'm a stakeholder, but I just don't know, what's being done, what decisions are made. The other thing then that happened is I pointed out to Nick in an email, I said, we've got a septic system with a finger system that's located pretty close to the road. And so how do you make sure that you don't just dig right through the finger system and so on? And is that my job? Is it project's job and so on? Nick did not even respond to my message. So, here I am, a property owner, and I'm asking simple questions and doesn't even respond to my message. I went and forwarded that message that he did not respond to. I forwarded it to Tim, and I think if it was 2 hours or the next morning, I got an immediate response. Hey, Bob, we run into things like this all the time on bridges and properties and so on. And if the project cannot work around that, then yeah, it'll be our cost and our responsibility to relocate that. You'd have the same functionality. That's all I needed to know. That's all I needed to know. But I really feel that there's a lot going on. We've got 47 acres there, and I'm the main property owner. There are others, but along Pumpkin Bridge Road, there's a long stretch of my property that borders Pumpkin Bridge Road. And then John, who's not here, he owns almost the northern boundary that goes on and on and on and on. So he's very concerned about that. So anyway, Tim, I appreciate when I've gone to you, you provided immediate response and the type of information that I find very helpful. So I appreciate that, and I'll count on that continuing. So should I read the comment from, okay, so this is John and his wife Carmen, lovely couple. I guess you call them our neighbors, although he's got a lot of property south of us. So I met with him for the first time, and he asked me if I would just go ahead and read this with me. So thank you for allowing that. September Board of Commissioners meeting. In the preceding weeks of August Board of Commissioners meeting, we have been observing the public utilization of Mount T. With all the recent publicity, with a couple years of detailed signage on the forest, we have observed no more than 2 cars parked in Mount T parking area at any one time. With beautiful weather and even a long Labor Day weekend, 2 cars were the most that we've seen in the parking lot. Let's step back for a moment and ask, what is the road expansion for? The impetus for this has not been the property owners. We're not asking for a asphalt road. It's DNR and access to Mount T State Forest. Let's not forget this. So, and I don't know if these are rhetorical or not. So I asked the Board of Commissioners, do you know what the road expansion is for? If you comment or not, I'm sorry?
For logging.
No, I called DNR.
No,
Please.
Yeah.
Okay,
Great. Yeah, I'll answer. The stated reason is allow easier access to the public to Mount T. And that would include like a 2-lane road that you know, you don't have to pull over the side of the road to get through. So a two-lane road is what we're building. That's the stated reason, make it easier for public access.
can you tell us what has been discussed with DNR?
Like,
We haven't had any discussion.
our meeting's been public and
Yeah.
those been public meetings, and Nick Bannon were here, they were here twice to
Yeah.
discuss any questions people had. And if you're aware of the 2.5-hour meeting we had,
I was, but you know, I think there was an undertone by a lot of property owners that this is kind of the camel with his nose underneath the tent. And all of a sudden you say, well, it's a road, but then all of a sudden it goes from primitive camping to regular campsites. You have toilets there, you have horse trailers and so on. And so I think there's a concern that maybe they're not being really clear with their long-term intent.
well, I mean, they were, the state, they say, state twice, John Seifert from DNR stated twice, it was primitive camping, and that was the intent. There wasn't no horse trailers, no,
Well,
no public.
clarification, it was primitive camping, hiking, and hunting.
Yeah,
And
that's it.
yeah, that's true.
That's it. No, there wasn't gonna be any water, wasn't gonna be any sanitation facilities. Well, that was it.
Yeah.
They were gonna keep it primitive.
Can DNR tell us what has been discussed internally as expansive options for Mount T? I think the question I understand there is this just a starting point? They've got a master plan, but they're just not prepared to share that with a broader audience at this point.
Well, certainly hadn't shared any of their plans with us. That was the intent, to do something differently.
Okay. Now, he said, no, we want those responses as public record either now or in the future.
We're being recorded.
All of this effort is not for increasing the function of primitive camping. Please be honest with us. I think some of us have said this doesn't pass the smell test, right? You're gonna have this super duper highway, asphalt, everything for primitive camping, okay. The county should know this. Our tax base is already burdened by security and emergency service for DNR with no return on cost from DNR. And then I want to wrap up here. The thing, and I think sent this last night, Tim, to you in an email. The issue, what I don't know is of my property and John's property, beyond the road itself, how much more is going to be taken for so-called safety in the project? He said the issue of 100-foot clearance of the road. We are adamantly against this. It is grossly unnecessary. We don't have these gross margins in our parks. Why the requirement for this approach? Keep the same charm in the approach to the park and to the park itself. This is unnecessarily costly and adds generations of maintenance costs. Will the state pay these fees? They don't maintain Pumpkin Ridge Road now. Now, why should they do this differently later? This is our ask, be honest with the public in the true purpose of the project, be sensible in the design. Thank you. As I was driving here today down Hoover Road to Highway 46, it blows my mind as I was looking on both sides of the road that beyond the road itself, that you would confiscate, cut down trees. I don't know. I heard about this 100-foot margin, and I'm trying to understand, what is that? Well, it's because trees could fall on Pumpkin Ridge Road, and that would prevent trees from falling during the storm. That's right. We don't have that luxury on Hoover Road. You don't have it on 46 or state highways. If a tree falls down, they fall on Hoover Road all the time, and someone gets in a truck with a chainsaw, and by the next morning it's cleared. So I think it would be unacceptable to go beyond the width of the road to actually impact the property that we own, because you want to have the luxury of a tree never falling on Pumpkin Ridge Road. So anyway, those are my comments. Thank you for allowing me to be heard, and also for John's comments. Yeah.
Well, I think, and Bob, thank you for your input. we're gonna take our time on this thing. We're gonna address all these concerns. You raised additional ones today. I identified a lot of concerns we had at the last meeting, 2.5 hours. So we're gonna address the concerns. And we're gonna do something that's right for the county. It's right for the owner. So, and however long that takes to do that, we'll do it. So there's not gonna be any surprises. And you'll know what the plan is, and then we'll sure when I sign a contract, we'll have those standards within that contract, so we make sure that we get what we expect. So we'll go through that. And again, we become a real tough customer, NDOT may walk away and say it's on you guys. That's fine if we get to that point. I hope you don't have to, but if we have to, we have to. So again, take our time. We're gonna do the right thing. So
Thank you.
address your concerns. Thank you.
Melinda Moffett, 7402 Pumpkin Ridge Road. Sitting here and listening to Kevin and Tim talk about how these bed bugs and, the health department stuff is too vague and it's not clear and you want it, fixed. That's what we want for this. The same things that you want to vote for, you're so okay with it. But you're not okay, you're not okay with the bed bugs though. I'm okay. This is affecting us. This is affecting our properties. So we had a question last time about what's it going to cost to make our road just gravel road 17 foot wide? Because on our property, it's already 7 foot wide on our side. You can pass 2 cars very easily. So what is it going to cost the county to do that? Do we have that answer yet from the
No, certainly not. We're nowhere near having that level.
Okay. Because I'm anxiously awaiting that one, because that would leave NDOT out of it, have their hands out of this. And that's what I think we need to do, because I don't think they can be trusted. I don't trust them. Personally, I don't trust them. Okay? Because they've been on our property, and you can tell. I read people's energies pretty well, and you can tell when you can't trust somebody. I can. If they don't want to give you answers, they don't want to answer anything. And that's not okay.
Well, and just recall, back in July, we unanimously voted not to approve this contract pending the information from citizens. That's what we're doing now. So however long that takes to get to the point to be satisfied with the way ahead, we'll do it. Like again, there's no rush. We'll do it right. So
Let me add this up. Commissioners down in Mooresville, North Carolina, that county, Teresa Earnhardt wanted to put in a $30 billion data center. This is 6.5 million. They was talking 30 billion. And the reason the mayor finally said that they didn't think the commissioners were going to go ahead and vote for it, kind of for the same reason I'm hearing from the citizens. The developers didn't produce the final plan. They did not produce that final plan. So, we're kind of entering into it a little on the dark side. That it's the same thing. And I guess the mayor told them that they didn't think the commissioners were going to vote for it, and the developers pulled out. So before they start saying I cost the county $6.5 million, they passed on a $30 billion project in North Carolina. So the commissioners get involved in a lot of this stuff. This stuff's not easy. You kind of see us bickering back and forth up here. We kind of get along. I mean, for the most part, Kevin is more likable out of this meeting than he is in the meeting. Tim's military and IRS. He's dot your I's, cross your T's. So when he tells he's going to look at every option, I'm pretty sure he's going to look at it. But I just don't like not knowing the end result from DNR. What can they do in the future? They can do whatever they want. They're not in this contract. They're not signing anything. So that's my thoughts. We have a lot more business to do.
all right, next item, contractual services. Oh, yep, no, Jason.
Thank you, Jason Dickmeyer. I understand you guys inherited this kind of a problem from previous commissioners. Just kind of get through the motions. I just like to see it left alone as a county maintained road. It's not really fair for citizens, for landowners to have to maintain it, for it to be a public highway. I mean, we should be able to put a gate in, since it's the property owner's dollars. You know, it's their hard work to maintain the road. But yet it's a public road. There shouldn't be a such thing as an unmaintained county road. It's right. If we gotta be able to shut it down, if we gotta maintain it, we gotta be able to shut it down, put a gate in. Like nobody else in here. But you can't because it's state property. But I heard you say earlier that Ant Hill was over 100 years old. There's been no accidents. So I'd like to say the same thing about this road. It's over 100 years old, and I don't know of any accidents. So I say let it be. Maybe make it 17 feet wide, widen a few pieces, and let the county maintain it, just like they do all the rest of the roads. Thank you.
All the options are on the table, so thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah. I'm gonna make this quick. My name is Barbara Nix. Okay, NDOT cannot be trusted, period, okay? They did a half-assed job at State Road 46 and Old 46, the entrance to the state park. They only left two cars to turn left. And we're gonna trust them with a 3/4 mile half-ass highway? Come on, people, you know better. All right, to even contemplating saying yes to this is irresponsible. To blindly sign an agreement with these people is irresponsible. They can always say no. They have gone back on their word several times when they had people who wanted to compromise, and then they come back and say, no, we don't have to. They do not care, and they don't have to care. When a bad organization proves they're a bad organization, believe them.
Anybody else? All right, let's move on. Kevin, you're on the health department flooring replacement.
So as part of the, so we pull up the file. So as part of the final plans, we regards to the glue or any of the resins on the floor, sanding it if necessary to level that, and then going back and putting in new carpet and tiling as per the specifications that the health department put forth. So based on that, 3 quotes that they got, Columbus Carpet, Wiley's floor covering, and Bounce Flooring. Bounce Flooring was the cheapest, and I'm going to make a motion that we recommend them proceeding with this final phase based on and selecting Bounce.
You did say that they're paying out of their budget.
It's coming out of the funds that were reappropriated through the, I think it was
You know what?
March.
I think this is the closest bids I've seen on anything.
Yeah.
This is close.
It's within $50 of one another. So I was kind of shocked myself.
Yeah, that's close.
So
You made the motion.
motion to approve Bounce Flooring and
I'm good with that. I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Kevin Patrick, how do you vote?
yes.
Ron Sanders,
Yes.
Tim Clark,
Yes. All right, RP cleaning contract.
Okay, so if you could please pull up the one that says cleaning service RFP or cleaning RFP, should be a file. Okay, so as we all know that our cleaning services had ended at the end of August on the 29th. We have been in the last session, our last meeting, we went through the exercise of getting a temporary person on board and had to renegotiate that contract a little bit because the scope of work didn't include everything that was needed. So that's been finalized and that contract is in place temporarily until the middle of November. So then that gives us breathing room for a little while to go through this process. So there's 2 sections in the RFP. There are copies if you know anyone that has a cleaning or is interested in providing cleaning services with regards to the facilities. Those RFPs are there. That RFP is also online at the county website. It's across the scroll or the banner and the other service notifications. I'm the contact, or Teresa is the backup for any questions related to what needs, square footage. Had one earlier today. What are the addresses for these buildings so they can actually do walkthroughs? So that information's been provided. And then as far as the schedule itself, I'll use my eye chart here. The Monday was the day we actually sent out the RFP, posted it on the website. So that's been in place. Deadline for questions. So we're looking at trying to end any and all questions by noon on the 22nd of September. We are asking that anyone interested in submitting a proposal do so by the 24th of September by 4 p.m. We'll go through the evaluation period from the 25th to the 30th. That'll be information shared amongst the commissioners so they can go through and look over and go back and ask our own questions on those proposals. And then on the 1st of October is when we would plan to basically select one of those proposals or multiple proposals. I want to make it clear, we're not trying to target one particular company to clean all buildings. We have made it possible in anyone, and I've seen a couple of quotes or proposals already where individuals are only interested in cleaning certain buildings. So that's not all possible. It could be one, it could be multiple buildings, or it could be all of them. So we're taking any proposals of any form, and we'll look through those and evaluate. So the deadline, like I said, the drop dead to get it to us is the 24th by 4 p.m. And then we'll be looking in our October 1st meeting to make a decision as to what proposals we select and move forward with. Okay, so that's just an update there.
Thank you. GS layer update?
Yes, so we received, or it's a routine activity for us. There are layer requirements or updates that have to take place from the state of Indiana. That request has come to us. It's been with us for a couple of months. They had a proposal from the company that provides us our GIS services, is WTH GIS. Those services or those updates are paid for out of a grant granted by the state of Indiana. So the tune of $12,500 is coming to us in the form of a grant, but we have to go through the proposal process because the company that is doing the work is also doing the grant work. The actual contract itself, I put in front of you, or both of you, Ron, I think you've got a copy of it.
Yeah, I'm looking at that.
The approach that we took was we wrote our own service agreement through Barnes and Thornburg with Mike Bogus assistance, and then the exhibit there at the end covers the scope of work and the specifics of the work to be done. So based on that and having reviewed the actual service agreement itself and the scope of work, I would make a recommendation that we proceed forward with that approval and signature on that contract.
I believe you said that, at no cost to us.
Correct. And in addition to that,
If they don't get the grant, it's no cost to us.
that's correct. And actually, if they actually don't get the grant, the contract is automatically terminated.
You said you made a motion?
The motion to approve that contract is presented.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Ron Sanders, how do you vote?
Yes.
Tim Clark,
Yes.
Travis Patrick,
Yes.
Okay, and the last one is category milestone meeting contract.
Okay, so
And then the contingency you identified.
yes. So I tried my best to get this done, and I did not get Johnny on the spot with most of the contracts I've been handling in this. So we did a review of that. I actually did review the actual contract. The contract that was prepared from the bidding documents was prepared by Clark Dietz. So we go and Eric, when we go and do our bid contract, we need to probably harmonize the terms and conditions because there were a few things that they did not cover in that contract that they prepared for us that we'd like to have. So what we're proposing in order to shorten the turnaround time on this, because Milestone come back and said, we aren't going to be able to get it signed today and back to you. They said they need a couple of days on the changes that we requested. One of the changes that specifically requested was they needed to adopt the proper language on the retainage clause. It needs to be 97%. In essence, it's a 3% retainer, not a 97%. Based on either the cost of materials and equipment or the actual project labor. So that needs to be changed per statute, which went into effect in July of this year. And then there are those force majeure, severability, and I think other clauses there. I can't remember off the top of my head here. Thank you. Insurance and permits, injuries, indemnification, and then obviously dealing with termination, because we want to make sure that we have termination clauses in all of that. So the approach that I'm proposing here is we approve this addendum in concert with their actual contract that they have with these terms, sign it, and make it approved contingent upon their acceptance of those terms. If they don't accept those terms, we'll go back and we'll see what has to be done in the negotiation and bring it back to the board. So I'm making a motion to recommend that we proceed approving this contract with the addendums that's attached and the contingent approval for both the board and Milestone.
Okay, you got Milestone and you incorporated it with Clark Dietz also,
Clark Dietz was the one that prepared the bid packages for us.
and that's the Milestone.
And they prepared the Milestone contract originally. So, like I said, I think I'm a little new to that part of it. I didn't realize Clark Dietz actually created the contract. If I'd known that, I would have gotten with them sooner to get the actual terms that were missing in it.
But now Clark Dietz is the one doing the bridge on Mount Clair.
The design work on Mount Liberty, correct?
So I'm just a little confused. It looks like they pulled two of them together.
No.
They just did the contract.
They
Clark
just
Dietz did the contract for both of them.
They did the
Paving also.
bid packages.
Yeah.
For the paving. And now they're going to also be doing the bid packages for the bridge at Mount Liberty.
Okay.
This is only for the paving.
The $844,000. So
$670 thousand, yes.
okay. So you made the motion.
I made the motion that we approve that contract with the addendum. And
That's
that-
fine. I'll second.
Roll call.
Tim Clark, how do you vote?
Yes.
Kevin Patrick,
Yes.
Ron Sanders,
Yes.
Let's work on this.
Thanks.
All right, County Office Human Resource Commission. Commissioners, Teresa, I got to laugh this bulk purchase off supplies. I'm going to steal your thunder. Explain to the audience what the state term for this is.
it's called Spend Bridge. Spend Bridge.
And no, we're not buying a bridge.
Yeah, what it is it's a service where, they have a group of companies where we can get discounts as a county. We've had this in the past, so I talked to Julie about it yesterday. We talked about it. And she actually said that, AIC presented Amazon. There's a new Amazon business that would be free. And the more I'm looking into this Spend Bridge, there is cost associated with it. So I'm gonna not have you sign this, and we're gonna pursue more information on this Amazon, because pages of items that can be discounted.
Kevin was part of this.
Yeah, so Julie and I had a discussion with the Amazon representative, or who would be our Amazon representative, chose to go down this path. And the interesting thing about this is that they will give us a 25% discount on any office supplies that we buy through Amazon. In addition to that, since we'd be considered a business prime, they will ship anything to us for free.
And a lot of our departments use Amazon on a regular basis, so this would be majorly cost effective for a county.
And what I actually found interesting is it wasn't necessarily limited to just office supplies. There were other things in there where there were protected gears, maybe some emergency services, equipment and things of that nature that could be.
Furniture.
purchased under this program.
All kinds of.
All kinds of things on there.
So I'm not a huge retailer, but unfortunately, we're a small county and we don't have a lot of businesses in the area having the gambit of all these things. We're talking about cost, so.
And I did put a message into this guy. He never called me back anyway, so I'll get with you as soon as I get more information from you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the update.
Yeah, just.
Eric,
Hang on just a second, real quick. Did we finally get a holiday schedule, right? Huh?
Nope.
Not got it yet?
No, there's an error still.
Okay.
They moved Easter around. Good Friday is nowhere near where I have it on that sheet.
Okay,
So
just
another error.
trying to keep up. You guys move fast.
Alrighty. Okay. Great.
All right, you guys do you have any questions over the updates or anything?
No, I appreciate the report.
Okay, there's quite a bit on there. We got quite a bit going on. Several, obviously, bridges we're working on. We've got some RFPs out for Bridge 43 on Uplandsville Road. Their letters of interest are due by tomorrow at 4. So I started getting those today. Once we get those, we'll get our review team and we'll get those scored and we'll go through that process to get right away and design engineering firm pick. Working on the final stuff for the Hoover Road Bridge for CCMG, getting all of our cost estimates ready to submit for that grant. We're going to try to submit some local paving on that as well. Try to maximize the full $1 million with CCMG. I think I have a couple roads picked out that are going to work. We're just going through the estimates right now. So,
So Eric, refresh my memory, we are able to do paving submissions and bridge submissions at the same time. They just have to be.
so it's a little more difficult, but you have to do separate applications. Where paving, you can pave 20 roads or whatever, all on one application. So I'll have to do 2 applications. I'll have to do one for the bridge, one for paving. So it'd be 2 separate ones. The bridge will be priority 1 and the paving will be priority 2. So at least I can pick that if they were, it's gonna be a lot tighter, scoring, that NDOT has to do since they don't have as much money to shell out. So we're working through it. We're gonna try to maximize that 1 million. So our percent is better this year. It was 25, it's now 20. So
And
our
have they-
percent is 20.
Given you any further details on what the CCNG program and next opportunities are yet? Because I know we had to talk about.
Yeah, it looks like in October, it's gonna be $1 million. And then starting in 26 in July. So their fiscal year is July.
Okay.
So in 26, July next year, it'll be their call for 27, basically for their fiscal year, whatever. So it's still a little confusing, but they'll only have one call a year. It'll be in July. It'll be right now, it's just $1 million. They did $1.5 million for a while. So it's gonna be a lot tighter. Where NDOT before, as long as your paperwork was in order and everything looked good, you're pretty much gonna get your money. Now it's not the case. Things are gonna have to be submitted in a timely manner. You're gonna have to have your stuff. Your estimates need to be as close as possible and not over so they can maximize their money. So they're looking at everything. They actually have a scoring chart now that they're gonna actually score these. So it's gonna be a little difficult, but I think, as long as we're prepared, we got a good chance.
Okay.
So we're doing that. Bridge inspections, our first bridge inspections of our new contract will kick off with Aegis here in October. So we're getting prepared for that. We're in contact with them. They're gonna go over reports in a timely manner with us and let us know of any issues that we need to address right away. And if they see any serious issues, we can tackle it as we can. The equipment that was on GovDeals, everything, the dozer is on there now. So it's listed, it's available. I think as of right now, today it was $2,020 some. Everything else that we sold, sold for quite a bit more than what we had it valued at. So we did very well as far as what we thought we had. We sold $29,550 worth of stuff. So I'm pretty comfortable with it, so. And also, I don't know if I mentioned, but that silo that we talked about, it is still at the shop, but it is bought and paid for.
Cool.
They have filled out the papers where they bought it as is. They know the condition. They can't come back. He's trying to find it at home. As soon as he finds it at home, they'll come and pick it up, but it's empty and it's paid for.
Good.
So that's,
What was that, like 12.5?
I think that was 10. Yeah, so it's been paid for, money's deposited. So a couple things, and he talked about speed limit and Helmsburg.
Before you jump off.
Yeah.
Kevin was winking at me out there, and I might have missed what you said a little bit. I seen you on your phone, you smiled at me, and I kind of went, what? Nope, my imagination.
All good.
Okay, anyway,
We are ready to.
the dump truck, who's signing off on the titles for those?
I'm signing off as agent. That's how we've done every gut deals thing.
Good.
Cause I actually sign when we plate them and stuff, I sign as agent to plate them for Brown County Highway Commissioner's Office.
Okay.
And I sign it as same affidavit as Brown County Highway is the same as Brown County Commissioners.
Did we get the new grader yet?
No, it's gonna be the end of this year or first of next year.
Okay, what about the JCB or?
It's been ordered. They're going to try to push it as fast as they can to get it built. And then of course it's got to come across the pond. So
It's an overseas piece of equipment?
we're trying. JCB, yes.
It's not China, is it?
No.
No, it's,
German.
yeah.
And I noticed just clarify this for me. We had 3 graders and I think the rear end went out of one. They wanted like 40 grand to fix it. So we're getting a new grader, but we still have a broke down grader. Was the grader that's still down there broke down? Was those parts interchangeable with the grader we traded in, or is it 2 different animals?
No, it's not. They're different years, different stuff. Not feasible as far as the hours and stuff that was on the whole. And plus we had the one that's down there that we're trading for the JCB, we kind of had it spoken for with a $25,000 value for trade-in. So that's, that wasn't an option as far as we took off some parts for one of them and then we replaced them once the other parts came in.
So the broke down one, where are we going with that thing? What are we gonna do with it?
The one that's broke down is we're trading that with the new one. We're trading that.
Not the one that's sitting down there?
No, that's going, the one that's down there that we haven't used in years is going with the JCB. That's going with that machine.
It's a 672, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we have 2 672s and a 772.
It's just a matter of model differences.
Have you referenced the detour they're planning?
Yes, so, I've been back and forth a couple times with NDOT and the gentleman here, Anthony. But in March of next year, they've got an issue that they're gonna do. I believe it's a bridge. It's just west of Indian Hill on 45. So his original idea, he didn't realize Indian Hill was closed, wanted to use that as the detour. We back and forth, so
$1 million.
$2 million, yeah. So the unofficial detour that we came up with is Lanham Ridge and Helmsburg. That being said, we've got a document here stating that, if there's any issues or any damage that occurred during this detour, we can get reimbursed. So the good thing, we have Biolytics. So before they close this, we can run Biolytics on both of these roads. We can get the images, the pictures, the conditions, the page ratings, and as soon as they open their section back up, we can run it again, see if there's anything that's off, any numbers change or any damage. Then that's our documentation. So there's no reason they can fight fixing it. So before that happens, we'll go through to make sure we mow, make sure everything's up to as best condition as we can. At least we have this assigned document because they're going to use that road anyway. They're going to, whether it's official, unofficial, whatever. So they're going to go that way because the other options, 46,
Where's the truck route tour?
That's their official route.
Is it?
Yeah, it's in here. There's a map of their official route. This is just the unofficial that goes through our park. So,
That's a good plan. Appreciate the detailed guidelines. Thank you.
Right. That brought up something. I believe there was a time that there was some work on 45 and they used Railroad Road. So I think that's how we got Railroad Road paved. But the thought that come up is I was driving on Railroad Road and starting to see a lot of potholes and stuff. If you guys have time or something, could you get them out that way? Maybe?
oh, sure we can.
Yeah. I just was wondering how long, I can't remember how long ago they did that. I think they actually did a heck of a job paving that, but it's been probably years. That one particular part of the road, you come off 45 railroad track, turn right, like you want to go back east, on Railroad Road. There's a spot down there. I don't know if the sun don't hit it right or something. There's something there that the base of that road is not quite right. Never been right. It always breaks up at some point. So, something to think about. You go a little asphalt down those holes. I'm sure people appreciate it.
So yeah, if you guys are good with that.
Yeah, I've got a question on going back to the grader. We do have a functioning grader, right? Or we're still waiting for parts on the second.
No, so the mechanic was able to diagnose some wiring and we think that it was just, the only thing wrong was that was the 6-wheel drive wasn't working. We were still using it.
Okay.
It's just the 6-wheel drive would kick out. So, we put a pump on it and we think we found some wiring. He tested it for about an hour and a half yesterday. No codes, no issues, everything stayed good. So,
Yeah, so we've been without a grader for almost, 2 weeks, right? About that.
yeah, we actually shut it down here late last week just because of, well, Mother Nature.
Okay.
And let's be honest, we haven't had any rain. It's a little dusty, so
Right.
we kind of held back for a minute. So
I've just been sharing with the people that contact me saying my road's looking a little rough.
we've been doing more spot grading, unfortunately, because when you're one grader, you're having north side of the county, so you don't spend as much time in one area, but
Right.
we're getting the, call-ins, complaint stuff. We're trying to get those handled instead of actually going through where he's following through his whole route. So.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
One more thing. Did you get a copy of the title before you handed it to the person off the dump truck?
Correct.
Copy the front, copy the back?
Correct. Actually, when I picked the title up in the commissioner's office, all the paperwork was there from when they received it, and there was already copies of the front and back and everything.
Because what has happened in the past, not so much maybe with the highway or whoever, it don't really matter. But the BMV, if we don't know who we sell to, and if they was to somehow receive an open title, or even if you copied it and they never run the title through, it still shows up on the BMV register.
Yeah, you can call them at that point, give them your bill of sale, and they'll see that you sold it, and they'll actually take it off.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to clean those records up.
And we have, so with Gov Deals, we have bill of sales that they send us. We have them sign them before they pick them up. We make copies of them. We give that if it's a transport company, we give them a copy to have in case they get pulled over on the way home, and we keep a copy. So we keep all that together with the bill of sale.
Okay.
The speed limit in Helmsburg, though, real quick. We've had, obviously a lot of calls, complaints. They're posted at 30, and I don't know why. But 45 through that section is posted at 25. I had proposed that we lower the speed limit to 20. So I talked with Mike a little bit. We just need to bring it up. I think we need to, adopt the verbiage and ordinance, pass an ordinance so we can go out there and remove those 30 limit signs and put 20 limit signs up.
That's state highway.
It's actually in the town, Helmsburg.
It's 30 mile an hour on all of the streets in Helmsburg.
Yeah.
The back streets are 30.
All of the streets.
Yeah, Second Street and
Then
yeah.
The one that leads out to.
So we need to correct that. And then we've had some question of, can we do something with the street parking? That's something that, I get it. People live there. They, some of them don't have big driveways, but maybe if it's one side of the road, not both, or at least in front of the store. And it's just, tight through there, so that was brought up too. I just want to let you know, but the speed limit sign or speed limit first would be good. Yeah.
I was out there the other day before I come down Tuesday for an admin meeting. And there was two cars sitting on the street, on the back of the street there. And I literally went out there with the tape measure. Now, measured from one car to the other car, and I did an honest measurement. Cause I told him, no, bring that tape over here a little bit, you know, catch the mirror. Wanted to make sure we didn't knock mirrors off. But I come up with 17.5 feet with two cars. You could drive two log trucks through there. But if there's two log trucks sitting on the street, might be a different story.
Well, and I think it's not necessarily the main east and west street. It was the north and south street where you get to the point going west and you make that turn going north at the end. Right through there, it was, and then you have the alley. So people pull through that alley into the park. They have their driveways back there. So getting out of that alley and turning, and then of course you got us that are trying to plow it. It becomes an issue sometimes too. So I get both sides. I'm just here to present what, you know, we've been asked.
Okay. If you would, you know Adrian O'Shea? He's the president of the Community Development Corporation in Helensburgh. It's a community group. They started in like 2018 and they have regular meetings. So if you get a chance, talk to Adrian and get their input because he represents that corporation, represents that Helensburgh community. They've done a lot of things in Helensburgh, and so they need to have they need to have the input on this.
I do that.
They just had their meeting last week,
So last week, okay.
so it's once a month. I get invited to all.
Yeah, I get their mails too, so it's a good source. It's like one of the,
Yeah, I can reach out.
okay, thank you. Future guys, let me talk about the October 1 commissioner meeting. We're gonna add we've got a request to do Christmas lights at the courthouse. So we'll look at that request. There's gonna be the health department, first reading, health department hotspot tub ordinance and food fees. That's gonna be a first reading on this bed bug thing. That could be a first reading also on October 1, the first reading. So that might be on there. Also, October 15th would be the second reading on that hot tub and maybe a second reading on the bed bug if it makes it through the community input. So that's all I have. Anybody, you guys here? We'll turn it over to Mike.
Anybody else in the audience got a finger?
Real quick. Sherry Mitchell, on your bed bug ordinance, I have a concern. It seems that when the health department has complaints, they take those and, I hate to use this word, weaponize them. So I don't know how you're going to get people to notify you that they have bed bugs if they're going to be punished. Kind of like the septic thing, you know. So I would kind of try to make that a little more compassionate. Is that a good word? Because you want them to come to you. You cannot afford to have bed bugs all over this community. It will shut down your tourism. So you want that people who have these problems to feel comfortable coming to the health department to figure out solutions. And I got another. Dang, I hate having Alzheimer's. Oh, I do. I know now. So on the health department, you said that there was mold in the building and you needed a contract to clean it. How did you verify the mold?
It went through state testing.
It did. Were those testing results available by any chance?
We had them at the health department, and I had a copy of it as well.
I would love to see that. You think I could get that from you? Thank you so much.
No problem.
That's it.
Hey, Sherry, on the health department, that key is to address that. There's a separation, checks and balances between the commissioners and health department.
Oh, sure.
The employees, the supervision, the policies, all that reports from the health department to the health board. And so your concerns on this ordinance, we expressed similar concerns, but you added another component. Discuss that at the health board. It's their call to determine the changes they need to make. Then it comes over for us for public discussion. We'll certainly have as many discussions as we need to and involve concerns. So really health department is the first stop, and then the backup is really the commissioners and the public.
You're not gonna like this. I went to the health board meeting last night. Guess what? They don't take public comment. Just so you know.
So stated in advance.
Yeah, Tim, I asked to be put on the agenda. I was denied. They take no public comment. The room is teeny tiny. I mean, it's not even conducive for public meetings. And I think Melissa's trying to spend some money on some cameras like what you have here, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, the health board, I would not consider to be a very transparent or accepting of public comment, board.
Okay, good to know. That may stretch out the time
Hopefully-
you need to look at it.
Yeah, hopefully that will make you vote new people onto that board. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Last call?
All right. Mike, Mike,
Logan?
Nope, nothing to add. Thanks.
Mike, I have a question for you though.
Okay.
Hear me?
Yeah.
So I did get the ordinance changes correct with regard to the health department. It was simply just moving the fees out to section 6.
Partly, yeah. So the fee, if I'm recalling what's currently in the ordinance, is $50 per room, plus whatever the cost is to hire a third party to actually do the investigation.
Correct.
So that all should be in section 6.
Right. That's what was big, like I said, it's just reaffirmed for Ron when we had this, that was the only thing that was taking change. Okay, thank you.
thanks, Mike. Okay, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Done. Meeting is.